You're listening to Let's Stay Together Anime Break, the sub-series of Let's Stay Together where we talk about the 2019 anime Fruits Basket. I'm Ellen.
And I'm Kayla.
And today we're talking about episode 15, which was called I Wouldn't Say That.
They're good titles.
It's... I thought my title was better, and it's from the same scene. It's 2,000 times happier, so...
They're all they're random quotes from the characters, but they're not always really relevant quotes.
They're a little bit weird. Although this episode has a lot of moving parts, so I don't know how you would... I don't know what else you would pick.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny because it's an episode that's it features the main trio, there's stuff happening with them, but really I feel like it's an episode about Hatori, so it's kind of funny. Anyway, okay, so today we're going to do our summary, spoiler-free discussion, and then spoiler-y discussion, like we always do. This content from this episode came from chapters 25 and 26 of the manga, and there weren't any big changes I noticed this time.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like some of the dialogue was a little bit different. It was one of those things where the same situation that we see often where, the subtitle was represented a little bit differently and that kind of has a different feeling or a little bit of a different meaning sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But there weren't any... I didn't notice any big changes. And it's, like I said, it's based off of... We covered the same content in our episode, number 13, which was called 2,000 Times Happier. So... Which is a better title than... I wouldn't say that. Objectively. Anyway. So the episode opens on a huge, beautiful lake. Ah, it's so pretty and big, Tohru says, looking out of a window with Hatori and Yuki. Hatori asks, are lakes really that special? And Tohru says, yes, it's my first time seeing one in person. And Shigure chuckles an evil chuckle from the other side of the room and says, it's the sort of cabin that Jason might show up at, don't you think? Jason? Kyo asks, looking back over his shoulder from the grumpy spot where he's sitting on the floor. Jason is a new type of bear. You're so oblivious, Kyo-kun, Shigure says. And Kyo is like, of course I know that. Anger vein a poppin'. It's not, Hatori says. Is it a foreign kind of bear? Tohru wonders, head tilted slightly, and Yuki and Hatori sigh.
I actually think we were talking about this being kind of a dated reference now.
Yeah.
And I actually think it's funnier that way because it's the old folk are making a joke about a movie from their time and the kids are like, what?
It does seem like a joke that we would make that it's someone who is the age that Tohru and Yuki and Kyo are wouldn't understand at this point.
Yeah. Except Yuki's apparently a secret horror movie buff since he knows what's going on.
I know. I was thinking when I watched this, the first time we talked about this, you were like, is this an outdated reference? And I was like, I think so. And it feels like that now. So
yeah.
It's funny. So yeah. But then Yuki secretly knows. I guess Yuki, he's just the kind of person who would you feel like he would just know stuff. He probably just knows that it's a trivia thing.
Yeah.
Anyway.
He's real good at pub trivia.
Maybe.
You want him on your team.
Yeah. I could see him being good at that. So
he's the one quietly in the corner. Everyone's arguing over what the answer is, and he just quietly writes it down.
Yeah. Everyone's arguing over the wrong answer, and he quietly writes the right answer down. Has someone written a fanfic about that? Let's find it. Or write it, maybe. Okay. So Tohru narrates that the gang has come to the Soma vacation house, and even Hatori-san came. I'm so overjoyed, she thinks. But, Honda-san, Yuki says, yes. Well, he says, and then looks away. And we hear the sound of wind, and we see a scene of the boy and the hat blowing in the wind from before. That seems like it's on Yuki's mind. We cut back to Yuki, and he clenches his fist and says, never mind, it's nothing. Sorry. Still not looking at her. Tohru looks concerned and then looks over at Kyo, who also looks away. But something strange is going on with Yuki-kun and Kyo-kun, she thinks, looking worried. And then we cut to the opening theme song. Do. I don't know how it goes. It's really fast.
The new one with umbrellas.
Yeah, we cut to the umbrella opening theme song. So after the theme song, we return to the night before at Shigure's house, after visiting Toru's mom's grave. Kyo and Yuki and Tohru sit and they eat dinner in silence, complete silence. There's no arguing. There's no Shigure there being annoying. Silence. Tohru looks anxiously between the two of them. She starts, but then fortunately Shigure pops in just in time to break the awkwardness with an I'm home, and Tohru welcomes him back, and then she scoots over and he sits beside her, which was really cute. Hey, want to go on a trip tomorrow? He says, and the kids are all like, huh? He was like, why would you suggest this so suddenly? Are you drunk? Even if I drink, I'm never drunk, Shigure replies. You just always seem drunk, Yuki thinks. Shigure is like, let's go. We can use the Soma vacation house. Don't you want to go, Tohru-kun? but I was already so generous to allow me to go on a previous Soma trip, she says, and then she freaks out. Shigure says, but I didn't go that time. And truthfully, I wanted to go. I was so envious. And Tohru was taken aback, and she says, let's go! And then Shigure gives a peace sign. You manipulator, Yuki and Kyo shout, spouting more angry popping veins.
And I didn't see this myself. I saw a post on like Tumblr
Yes.
or something, but the little angry veins are formed out of little cats and rats.
Yeah, I saw that. Someone slowed that animation down and they're formed out of little rats and cats, and it was cute.
Yeah, I did hear like angry animal noises when they popped up, but I didn't notice the actual figures.
No. Thanks, Tumblr. That I also didn't see that, but I saw that on Tumblr too. They're adorable. I love his serious voice. Every time I read that, I read it in like a... I feel like the previous Shigure was acted in kind of a like fake, like whiny voice. Mm-hmm. But this time he was like super serious, like, oh, I didn't get to go, and truthfully, I wanted to go too. And so he like super seriously manipulates her this time, which is kind of funny. So you'll be coming too, right? He says, turning to Yuki and Kyo. You wouldn't let it be just the two of us, would you? Kyo says, and they both just look kind of angry. And then Shigure is like, well, that's that. Let's hop in the car and zoom over. And then we see them transition to the car, and Hatori drives. Your favorite. I know.
I'm still concerned.
Shigure said he drove carefully, so...
He's probably driving like 2 miles an hour because he can't see.
He's like, where's the lines? Where are the lines? Yeah. Everybody shut up. There's nobody else on the road
turn that
around
down,
him.
I can't see.
Yeah, exactly. That's why there's no background music in that scene. So, back where we left off, in the vacation house, Tohru narrates, and that's why we're all here at the vacation house. Tohru is worried about how gloomy Kyo and Yuki seem to be, and Kyo asks why Shigure suddenly wanted to go on a trip. He must have an ulterior motive, Yuki says from the other side of the room. It saddens me how you suspect me. I just wanted to go on a trip with everyone, he says, and he suggested they take Tohru out for a walk to the lake, and Yuki and Kyo don't say anything. They don't respond. And then he's like, what's the matter? You're so moody. Toru's like, I can go by myself, but Shigure cuts her off, saying, we need someone funny to cure your cloudy moods. I know, I'll call Aya. And he stands up with the phone, but Yuki and Kyo's eyes gleam angrily. Call him and you die, they say. And then Hatori facepalms even harder than he already was after the Jason comment. The kids take off to go for a walk. Shigure comments to Hatori about how they've been gloomy since yesterday. And then, without responding to that comment, Hatori says, did you suddenly want to come on this trip to torment your editor again? So we cut to outside Shigure's house, a notice taped on the door. Off on a journey. Please don't look for me. Shigure Soma. Michan, his editor, screams, and a voice coming from the phone on the ground calls out frantically, Michan, just come back to the office for now. He probably is just teasing you again. Please don't die. Then we cut back to the vacation house, where Shigure says, I'm not tormenting her. I'm just teasing her a bit. And Hatori looks annoyed and says, I feel sorry for your editor. Outside, Kyo, Yuki, and Tohru walk together in silence. It feels so awkward, I can barely stand it, Tohru thinks. They're not even arguing. And she remembers yesterday, the gang eating their picnic in front of Kyoko's grave. They weren't like this when we went to visit the grave, she thinks. Why are they like this? And then with shock, she thinks, it must be because they're angry at me. Maybe I did something rude during the grave visit. Of course, because it must be her fault if they're angry.
Yeah, she's like, the only thing I can think is that I did something to make them angry.
Exactly, I think that's what it says in the subtitle. Yeah. It was written in a way that is not the way that I talk, so I wrote something else. Because I struggle sometimes when things are written in a weird way, like it just happened a couple seconds ago. Anyway, she says, and Yuki and Kyo turn back. I'm so sorry, she says, and then she bows as she says, I'm really spacey sometimes, and I don't realize it when I do something rude, so if it did anything to offend you, please tell me and I won't do it again. And Kyo and Yuki look extremely surprised. So please, she says, tears welling in her eyes. Go back to how you normally are, she thinks. Honda-san, wait a second, Yuki says. Kyo is like, what are you talking about? Ah! And then trips and falls. Tohru asks if he's okay, and he's grumpy, and they all look down and see a huge bear footprint in the dirt. And Tohru says, this footprint, it looks like Jason's! It's Jason! Kyo shouts, and they both freak out, imagining an angry bear. It's just a bear, Yuki says. What do we do? Tohru freaks out, arms flailing. It's dangerous, it's terrible, let's hurry and go. But then, in her flailing, she slips off the path, and Yuki and Kyo lunge after her. And then we cut away back to the vacation house, where we hear Michan screaming on the phone, "When will you finish? Why does this happen every time?" "It'll be fine. I'm already done with the manuscript," Shigure says calmly over her screaming on the phone, and then it's like, "Okay, bye," and hangs up while she still screams in the background. I just took one line of what she said, but she keeps screaming while he keeps going.
Yeah, I like the addition of her just continuously yelling at him when he's just like, yes, it's fine.
It's fine. She's like, "Sensei," and she like hangs up the phone. He tells Hatori, who sits back, arms crossed on the couch, that he called his editor, and Hatori is like, "Of course you did." And then Shigure complains that now he's bored, and Hatori is like, "Me too." "Now we can't have that," Shigure says. "You won't be bored." Turns out Shigure has brought a huge pile of books that he recommends, and he dumps them on the table in front of Hatori. "Huh?" Hatori looks up. "Go ahead, relax, and enjoy a book for once. You've always liked reading almost as much as me," Shigure says. "I see," Hatori says. He thinks back to that time at the main house where Kana passed him outside around New Year's. Maybe this is his way of being considerate because it's around Kana's wedding, Hatori thinks. "Shigure," he says. "Yes?" "It's nothing," Hatori says, and he picks up a book and smiles. "It has been a while since I could just enjoy a book." And Shigure wonders how the kids are getting along outside, and then we transition back, over the woods, and we hear, "They'll be fine as long as she's there," Hatori says. But it turns out Hatori was wrong as hell, because out in the woods, we pan down the hill, we see Yuki's pants on a tree, on the tree branch, and Tohru is sitting below, resting against the tree. His shirt is on her lap. I'm sorry, we hear. And little rat Yuki is sitting up on a tree branch, and Kitty Kyo is on the ground beside her, and his clothes are also kind of strewn about on the ground, and Yuki asks if Tohru's okay. "Yes," she says, crying. "I'm sorry." "Sheesh, look where you're going," Kyo says, and Tohru's like, "Yes," like still crying. "Look where you're going, you're the one who fell first," little rat Yuki says, standing up on a tree branch and dusting himself off, which was adorable. "Like, you can talk," Kitty Kyo argues. "What would a sheltered boy always shut up in his room know about the woods? I'm better than an idiot who's still useless despite training in the mountains," Yuki says, and they continue to argue, and a posse of rats appears, drawn to Yuki, who's standing in the sassiest way that a rat can possibly stand, and says, "By the way, Jason isn't a bear, he's a character from a horror movie." "What's so important about a bear from a horror movie?" Kyo wants to know. And Tohru looks back and forth between them. Kyo tries to climb the tree, saying, "I'll kill you, I'll freaking kill you this time." "I'm tired of hearing the same line from you," Yuki says, and the rats are like huddling around him, including the little one on top of his head. Kyo whinges about him calling up his rat crew, and then Yuki points out that in this form, Kyo is clearly at an advantage, and their fight is interrupted by Tohru laughing. And they both run over to her, and she apologizes for laughing while they fight. "But I'm relieved," she says. "I started laughing since I was so relieved that you two are back to normal. You must think I'm strange." And Yuki and Kyo look surprised, and she continues to laugh. Like they both just like stare at her with wide eyes. "What you were saying before you fell, about if we were mad at you," Yuki says. "It wasn't that." And then he looks down and continues, "If it seemed like I was angry, that's because..." And then we see the same scene again of the boy and the hat blowing in the wind. "It's because I just wasn't feeling that great," he says. He walks over on his little two back rat legs and then rests his front paws on her knees and apologizes for making her worry. "Me too," Kyo says, and Tohru looks over at him and he's facing away from her. "I wasn't mad or anything, I just wasn't feeling that great either." "In the head?" Yuki asks sassily. "No," Kyo says, and they transform back to their human forms. I was really glad they kept that joke from the manga. They get dressed behind the trees while Tohru looks away. "Anyway, I'm just glad that you weren't feeling well," she says. I'm glad that nothing has changed." "Changed," Kyo says. "Nothing has changed," Yuki says. "Except I hate that guy more than ever," they say in unison, stepping out in front of the trees, pointing at each other. Another fight ensues, of course, and Tohru chuckles again. "It's odd that I'm glad they're arguing, but I'm happiest when they are," she thinks. And then they all end up deciding to head back for the day instead of going to the lake. We cut back inside the lake house, where Hatori reads Summer-Colored Sai, Shigure's book. "You like it?" Shigure asks. "It's revolting," Hatori says. The next day, the trio are about to head out to go to the lake, trying to make another attempt to go, see the lake that they actually came here to see. Kyo, of course, wears another knockoff Adidas shirt. I think this is a new one that we haven't seen before. It's like white. "Don't fall in the lake, Kyo-kun," Shigure says, teasing Kyo, and then Kyo sasses him back, of course. No guarantees that Honda-san won't fall in the lake, Yuki thinks. Tohru tries to say goodbye to Hatori, but he's asleep on the couch. Hatori actually sleeps, Kyo says. And Kyo-kun, all people need to sleep, Shigure says. And he's like, "I know that, he just doesn't seem like the type to fall asleep in front of other people." Tohru takes off while they're talking and then comes back with a blanket, worried that he might catch a cold, and tucks him in, which is adorable. You're so kind, Tohru-kun. You'll be a wonderful wife, Shigure says, and then she freaks out, of course. You're an idiot, Shigure, the boys think. A hand suddenly clutches Toru's shoulder. He's right, that was wonderfully attentive. Ayame has arrived in a cloud of shoujo sparkles. Allow me to praise you, he says. And then we are then treated to an awkward silence showing the group, like, going further back. So, like, it's a whole group, and then farther back, and then outside the house, and each time they punctuate every scene with a cuckoo sound, which is great.
Is this when we got the ghosty figures that
No!
everyone so kindly let us know about?
No! That's later. Don't spoil it.
I couldn't remember. I thought it was that scene, but
I thought that that's what they meant, and I was like, it's kind of like that. And then later there's one. In this one, they were just black and white. But they had the sound effect where it was like, cuckoo, cuckoo, cuckoo. It, like, zoomed out every time, and I thought that was really great. What's wrong? You're all so quiet, Ayame says, breaking the silence and rolling Toru's head around as she goes, ah, which is great, too. It's because you popped out of nowhere, Yuki says. Where did you slither in from? Kyo demands to know. He's like, I came in through the front door, of course. How dim-witted of you, Kyonkichi. Tohru tries to greet him, Ayame, but Yuki stops her. Greetings all, he says. I understand you must be moved to tears to see me again, but please calm your hearts. I stand here before you thanks to the cooperation of an interested party, Ayame says, and the kids look at Shigure, and they're like, interested party? And Shigure's like, hey, it wasn't me, which is hilarious. Fear not, Gure-san, Ayame says, jumping forward with an outstretched arm in a sea of shoujo sparkles. Even if the world turns against you, I shall be on your side. Je t'aime, mon amour. Bon voyage. And yeah, Shigure says, sparkles flowing as well, arm outstretched. You are all I can depend on. Anyang Hashinika. Ha, I said it right this time. Also.
I'm proud of you.
And then they high five. So why the heck are you here? Kyo cuts in. Now, settle down there. As Kinpachi-sensei once said, Ayame says, flicking his hair and then spinning dramatically to quote the drama, so named drama.
People are made to support each other.
And that's relevant how? Yuki asks. Ayame puts his hand on his chest and then sparkles again and says, isn't it a great line? Like, you just wanted to say it? Yuki and Kyo shout. Kyo complains about Ayame just being there makes him tired, and Ayame is like, how rude. I always have a reason to be here. And he clasps Yuki's hands together and says, Yuki, today's the day we'll deepen our brotherly bonds. I'll drown you in the lake before that happens, Yuki replies. Tohru tries to break things up, but Hatori, who has been woken up by the noise, of course, bonks Ayame on the back of the head with a book. I told you not to bother people too much, Ayame, he says. I would have been quieter if I had known you were sleeping, Ayame says cheerfully and loudly. Louder than any other thing that he said this whole time.
You see, I think it's Pirates of Penzance that has the with Cat Like Tread song.
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
You should watch it. It's like a bunch of, they're like trying to quote unquote sneak into someplace, and they're like loudly singing this song that's like with Cat Like Tread. About how quietly they're sneaking into the place. It's hysterical.
It sounds wonderful.
I think of that every time I always says that.
Okay, we'll have to look it up after. But yeah, he's like, he was kind of loud, but then he was like extra loud on that one line, which is really funny. So, you're so loud, Hatori says, face palming, and then he asks what Ayame is doing there, and Ayame says, huh? I went to the main house, and a maid who was 53 years old said that you had gone with everyone to the vacation house, so I decided to join you. I just arrived, comfortably, by car, of course. I don't believe him, Yuki thinks. And Kyo is like, he doesn't dodge the questions with Hatori. Hatori releases the kids from the grasp of Ayame by asking if they were going to the lake, and Ayame is like, I don't know why you're dragging your feet, but you need to be slicker if you're going to escort a lady. And Yuki and Kyo are like, it's your damn fault. But Tohru jumps in and is like, so we're heading out now, and they leave. They finally make their escape.
Tohru's desperate attempts to keep the peace in this episode.
The whole time she just has her hands up, like half the episode is her with her hands up going, like basically. Inside, Shigure says that he thought that Ayame would go with them, but Ayame says it's been a while since the three of them could spend any time together. The night is long. I won't let you sleep tonight, Gure-san. I'm honored to be able to share your dreams tonight. Ah, yeah, he says. Yosh, they say together. You never get tired of that, do you? Hatori asks. And I never get tired of it as well, which is why I say it every time. Out at the lake, Toru's enjoying how refreshing it is, but then feels a grumpy vibe from behind. She turns around to see Kyo and Yuki, who are being grumpy about Ayame being there. Yuki sits on the ground and Kyo stands with his arms crossed. He's your brother, do something about it, Kyo says. I would if I could. I don't like people who rely on others to help them, Yuki says. Rely on others? I know Shigure used to piggyback you around, you moron, Kyo says. It's none of your business, Yuki says. Don't talk as if you know everything. I don't want to talk to you, Kyo says, but they continue to argue, and then Tohru raises her hands, like you just said, trying to keep the peace, trying to say something to calm them down. Why did I have to come to this damn lake with you, Kyo says. Coming to this lake is torture for me too, Yuki says. This place is stupid anyway, Kyo says, but then they realize what they're doing, and they freak out and turn to Tohru, and they're like, it's not like that, it's just that I don't want to be here with him. Don't get the wrong idea. Right. Huh? Tohru says. And they're just like, it's fine, and they blush and turn away. Tohru smiles and asks if they'd like to walk around the lake. And then we transition back to the house, where Ayame, Hatori, and Shigure sit together outside having some tea. Ayame passes Tori a red envelope. It's a photo from Kana's wedding, apparently. It doesn't open it. What? You went, Aya? Shigure asks. He seems really surprised, genuinely surprised. No, he says. Mayu-kun gave it to me. Mayu? You saw Mayu? Shigure asked incredulously. Indeed, I saw her. The Mayu who broke up with you after a month and called you a mere ripple on the water. Ah, Hatori says. The Mayu who was good friends with Kana in college and dumped Shigure after a month. I was young then, Shigure says. I love how they pick on Shigure again. Shigure changes the subject back to Kana, avoiding the awkwardness of talking about Mayuko. And he asks if Hatori didn't go to the wedding because he didn't want to see Kana. I was afraid that she might get flashbacks, he says. I didn't overwrite her memories with others, so it would be problematic if she happened to remember something. Ayame looks angry in the background. Would it be problematic? If she remembered you, you two could fall in love again, he says. Stealing the bride, eh? Shigure asks. Dramatic, like a story straight from a movie. He didn't mention The Graduate this time. It's over for Kana and me, Tori says. We can't start over again. Being together would only bring sadness. Notoria remembers her. It's the same memory from the photograph that he keeps on his desk. We can never be carefree as we once were. Back when we didn't know anything, the guilt and sense of inferiority would always be there, and he remembers erasing her memories, and they would only spread like a stain until they wore her out. She would inevitably fall ill. Out loud, Hatori says, I'd like to think that we still love each other. However, I don't want her to be by my side, nor do I want to see her. All I can do is pray, he thinks, that she can be happy. Ayame still looks grumpy behind him and is like, I cannot accept that. Yes, I'm biased in your favor, but I still need to say that I cannot accept this. Kana-kun is being unfair. She's forgotten everything and found happiness while you're burdened with having to remember everything on your own. I cannot help but feel like she's gone ahead and left you behind. You think so? Hatori says. And he imagines Tohru smiling from the same scene where, he remembered Kana walking away at the main house. The episode where Tohru went to the main house and learned about his zodiac form. And his past, his dark and mysterious past.
I was just about to say that.
You're about to make the same joke as me?
Yes.
Sorry.
Joke that's only funny to us.
Yeah, basically. Well, I'm glad you liked it. Ayame says that he's too kind, and that's why he endures needless suffering. Shigure chimes in. Yeah, and people push all the bothersome things onto you. Fine, Ayame says, and stands, slamming his nads on the table. No, I'm just kidding. That was for you. He slams his hands on the table. Good. He slams his hands on the table. I won't tell you to start things over again with Kana-kun. Instead, I shall make one thing perfectly clear. I want you to be 2,000 times happier than Kana-kun. 2,000 times? Shigure asks. Why 2,000? Well, 1,000 is too little, Ayame says. Hatori smiles and chuckles. You should show this aggressive side of yours to Yuki, he says. And Ayame is like, should I? like he's actually considering it. Well, anyway, Shigure says, I hope next time you can meet someone who won't make you feel sad to be with, a woman who brings you joy. Well said, you're such a poet, Ayame says. I'm a novelist, Shigure says. Another person, Hatori thinks, an outrageous hope. Do you know Outrageous Hope was the working title for Star Wars? No, I'm just kidding. I live to make you laugh.
Outrageous.
It's so outrageous. He remembers Kana turning back and smiling the day they first met, He remembers her in the sakura trees and her running up to him on the beach. For cursed ones like us, perhaps having a short time with someone like Kana is already enough, in my opinion. He remembers Kana crying, asking him not to push her away after she discovered the Zodiac secret. Perhaps I'm satisfied with that, he thinks. The return of the kids snaps him out of his memories. All I can do is watch over them, he thinks, so they don't make the same mistakes, so that their smiles don't turn sour. Welcome back, Yuki and friends, Ayame says. I'm not his friend, Kyo shouts, of course. Hey, Yuki, he says, ignoring Kyo once again. I received advice from Hatori-san. From now on, I will be more aggressive about deepening my bonds with you. There's no doubt this is the greatest method. It'd be great if you just gave up, Yuki thinks. And Tohru asks what Ayame means. You see, Yuki is my younger brother, and I'm Yuki's older brother. By that truth, I have a proclamation. And he points dramatically down. Yuki, since I'm your older brother, you must obey me. And his words echo through another ghosty figure silence. This is the one that everyone wrote to us about and was like, oh, I thought of you guys when I saw that. Kayla, we've made a cultural impact, I think, on
Yes.
in the world.
I was really entertained. I saw that message when I was at work.
Yeah, me too. I was like, oh, I haven't watched it yet, but I'm so excited.
Thanks for letting us know, guys.
Yeah, thanks for letting us know. Also, thanks to that random person from my work that, like, several years ago who called them ghost figures in the first place. So, so good.
I also like that you can see, like, Ayame's smirk in his ghosty figure. Like...
And Toru's, like, eyes are kind of... Yeah, Toru's eyes are wide and her mouth is open. Yeah. You can see Kyo's kitty ears. They also look like they have a little shadow that's, like, radiating from Ayame. It's pretty great. Yuki smirks and then chuckles. Not in a million years, he says, and then we hear the sound of Ayame getting blasted into the sun. Well,
Ayame's blasting off again. Like, I hope people know you put our stupid jokes at the end.
Only the people who listen to spoilers get to hear them. Listen, if you aren't listening to spoilers, you go back, or let me know if you want to hear all the jokes, because I could just leave them in, but usually I cut them out for, like, because it takes up a long time, like this one.
Yeah, it's better for pacing.
It is better for pacing. But I can just leave them in. That's also fine, too.
I think you make a good balance of jokes that are left in and
short
jokes
ones
that are cut for timely issues.
I cut tangents. I don't cut jokes. I'll put it that way. This was a full tangent. We referenced 5 other things. That
was like a 10-minute tangent.
It was a
pretty 90s tangent.
It was. Anyway, listen. Ayame doesn't get it at all, Hatori says. Not at all, Shigure agrees. But the same goes for you too, Hasan, Shigure thinks. You still have your whole life ahead of you. And then we cut to school, which was a little bit weird.
Whole life ahead of you, back in high school.
Back in high school.
Get your GED. Get your GED, Hatori.
I've been practicing medicine for all this time without your GED, Hatori. He's like, he has a private clinic so he can, like, do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
And they come in and he's like, how are you feeling? He just opens a drawer full of, like, syringes and he's like, which one is which? Like,
it's like, give me a second. He pulls up, like, WebMD.
You said your head hurts and you have a fever? Oh my god, you have cancer.
Yeah, definitely cancer.
Oh, okay. We're so close to finishing the episode.
I think we just need this comedic episode after all of the, the drama of the last ones.
Hatori, like, this scene brought it into a place of drama, and we're turning into a place of comedy still. He's like, I'm so sad about my past, like, with Kana, and we're like, haha, Pokemon jokes. Oh, okay. We cut to school. Mayutan sensei, a kid calls, and then we cut to an office, and we pan up on a teacher who sasses the kids. Hey, be more polite to your teachers. And it turns out that it's Yuki, Kyo, Tohru, and Hana's homeroom teacher.
Like, he listed them all.
Yeah. Well, usually when they're together, I refer to them as the gang. But then in this case, I referred to the gang as all the people at the vacation house. So it made sense to me at the time.
Well, it could be Hatori's homeroom teacher, too, if he goes back to get his...
That might be an interesting experience.
I'm going to write that at you.
Listen, fanfiction gold. It's Kyo, Yuki, Tohru, and Uo and Hana's homeroom teacher. Address me as Great Teacher Mayuko, she says. Working during the holiday, Great Teacher Mayuko-sama, the girl says. That's right, it sucks, she says. And then she asks if the kids are there for clubs, and they say they are, and we pan over her desk, and you can see a photo of Mayuko and Kana's in her wedding dress. Next time we hear Shigure's voice, you might find the one. And then we cut to credits. That was literally all that was left of the episode. We could have finished that 20 minutes ago if we weren't making Pokemon jokes.
But would we be as happy?
No. I'm pretty happy right now. I also love Mayuko, so I was like, yay, it's Mayuko! Great Teacher Mayuko! Now we can call her that from now on, which is also my favorite thing to do when we see her in the summary.
Yeah, I still like Mayo-chan Sensei.
Mayo-chan Sensei. Also,
I'm always entertained by people doubling up on honorifics.
She technically did that this time too, because she called her Mayuko Dai Sensei-sama. So it was like Great Teacher Mayuko-sama or whatever it says in the subtitle, which is really funny.
Yeah, like Toru's like Reach-chan-san and stuff.
Yeah,
which really entertains me.
Mayo-chan Sensei. Mayuko seems like a cool teacher.
Mm-hmm.
She'd be a good teacher in our AU where Hatori goes back to get his GED.
Yes.
Do you want to start this discussion specifically about this episode of Fruits Basket and not about anything else?
Oh goodness. What is important is we're having fun and learning.
I learned about 50 Shades of Grey.
Learned about old horror movies.
Yeah. I mean, they're not even that old.
Not that old.
They're just
like
kind
80s.
of old. Listen. Fruits Basket. I told you to talk about Fruits Basket and you failed me. Although, Jason is an important character.
Okay.
All right.
Discussion.
Yes.
I thought it was interesting that they had Hatori specifically saying he didn't overwrite Kana's memories with other memories.
That was the one kind of like singular change that I was referring to. Yeah, I thought that was interesting. Mm-hmm. It was a standout for us because we talked about it so much in that one episode where we discussed the manga, because
he just said they weren't very deeply buried or something.
Yes. He says that, and we were like, I wonder what would happen. There was much speculation, I think, about his powers. His power to conceal memories.
Yeah, about how they worked and stuff.
So I guess he also has the ability to replace memories with other ones. Maybe that's how he's convinced Momiji's mother that he's another Soma kid.
Yeah. Maybe just kind of move those memories a couple feet to the left or something,
They're like, when I remembered this thing, I smelled rose water, and now I smell jasmine. That's how it works, right?
Sure.
Yeah, it seems like he can do something to conceal. It's implied that he can do something to either only, he can alter them or hide them. It seems like he can do both. Because she also remembers him, because she says when she walks by before, she's like, oh, I don't think he's as handsome as Hatori, but doesn't she, I can't remember if she did it in the anime, but she made a comment about their relationship being one-sided or something.
Yeah, and when she first introduced herself to Hatori in real life, she said something about knowing him by reputation or whatever. So I guess he just kind of made it so that that was the extent of their relationship.
Maybe they still work together or whatever, but something.
Yeah.
It definitely, it's I guess it would be really difficult to completely erase that without erasing so many other people's memories. Because they dated for a while, so a bunch of people knew about it, I guess. Mayuko knew about it, and the other girl, the ones she's talking to at least. She has more friends than that. So
yeah, they must know, they probably know she worked for him at least.
Yeah, I think it's implied that they have a relationship beyond, it's not like they never knew him, maybe what happened with Momiji and with Yuki and his friends in the past. It's sort of implied that he did less to her memories. He altered them less or something, or didn't replace them, he says. So yeah, I thought that was really interesting. A minor change.
Yeah.
But it implies a lot about his powers.
Mm-hmm. The rats are cute.
The rats are cute. Great observation.
That's my discussion.
They're adorable, and I loved how Yuki was standing in his sassy rat pose. He has his hand on his little hip.
Yeah, he's kind of pudgy in rat form,
He
which
is.
is kind of adorable. He kind of looks like
good.
a weeble.
He does. He's very rotund for a little rat. It's cute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Kyo is kind of uncanny valley in the face.
I noticed
in
that.
Cat form, but the animation's really nice. Like when Tohru starts laughing and he walks over to her, it's a very cat-like walk. But his face is a little off in cat form.
I didn't notice that before. Like, I wonder if it's a little different. But yeah, when he was sitting, especially in profile, I was like, do you have a baby face? Like, what is going on? It was a little bit uncanny. You're right. I agree with you.
Yeah, I think it's like something with the animation because he doesn't, like, he kind of has the same kind of face in the manga. I think it's just without the movement, it's not as obvious that it's a little uncanny.
Yeah, they're definitely, I felt like I noticed something. It was a little bit off. There's something about it that's a little, it looks like a person face rather than a cat face.
Yeah, but the animations are really cute. Like, I went aw when he like walked over to her because it was a very cat-like little motion
he made. Like, puts his little paws on the tree and then scratches down. He like falls down. And he's like trying to scratch into the tree, which is cute. And Yuki's are good too. Like, he walks over and then he puts his little paws on her knees, which also I thought was adorable in the manga. It was extra adorable this time.
Yeah.
I like how Yuki's face like doesn't move when he talks as a rat for some reason.
Yeah. He like doesn't have a mouth in rat form.
Yeah. He doesn't need to. He can just use his mind. Confirmation that Yuki has mind powers. I mean,
yeah. That's how he knows all that horror movie trivia.
Yeah, really. He was actually reading Shigure's mind. He didn't actually know until that time.
Yeah. As a side note, one thing I liked in the dub is they have, Yuki being exasperated with all the Jason stuff at the beginning, and then when they trip over the bear track and Tohru and Kyo are freaking out about it, in the dub Yuki just goes, "Thanks, Shigure."
Oh, and that part where he's like, "It's not Jason."
Yeah.
That's funny. That's good. I didn't watch the dub this time, but
yeah,
that's pretty funny.
The other big, I thought that was funny. The other big dub change is that Ayame does like a Shakespeare quote instead, which is also pretty funny.
Instead of the Kinpachi sensei quote?
Yeah.
What did he say?
I can't remember which one it was.
He says, "Look like the innocent flower, but be the serpent under it."
That would be funny, but I can't remember which quote it was now. I watched it like last night, but I can't remember. But he did like a Shakespeare quote, which I almost think is like more funny for their like, what does that have to do with anything?
Yeah. It is funny. The other one, I think it's relatable.
Yeah, it like almost has to do with the situation at hand.
Yes. But then he's like, "It's great, isn't it?"
Yeah.
I guess like one thing that's quote unquote missing from that is the rest of that scene where he like explains what the drama is. He explains that what Kinpachi sensei is.
Yeah.
But I mean, whatever. It doesn't matter that much.
I was hoping we get a man can't stand without his friends, but
no. Sorry.
Alas.
Instead we got didn't they high five? That was really funny.
Yeah. High five was funny.
Yeah, I liked it. I guess okay, so I pulled up some of our notes from the time that we discussed this in the manga because some of them apply if people aren't listening to this. I don't know if I can't tell if people only listen to the anime ones or listen to both. So sorry if this is repetitive, but just for the people who didn't.
Informal poll: do you listen to both or one or the other?
I would be curious to know. Actually, send your notes. But yeah, so if they only listen to the first of all, if you just only listen to, I've said this before, but if you just listen to only the anime break ones, you can definitely also go back and listen to this episode of the manga. There's not much that was different. Like I said, like that one scene was shortened and some of the wording just changed a little bit between translations, but for the most part, it's the same. But yeah, so like, I guess a couple things that we learned is that we saw more about the transformation. So like we learned more about the curse and that Yuki called all the rats to him. And we kind of heard that they can do that before. Also, Yuki specifically did this before. You can see it in the very first episode, right? He like somehow manages to call the rats to like help him dig out Tohru's stuff from the landslide, from the tent.
Yeah.
But back then it was mysterious. Now there's just a tiny rat sitting on his head, which is adorable.
I said I was going alone.
I never said I was going alone. Dramatic spin. Red-eyed rats. Creepiest scene in all of Fruits Basket, I think.
It's like, we met a keto at this point, so I'm still saying something.
Actually, that one, well, there's creepy and there's scary. They're different, I think. The one with the rats is scarier. It's creepier because you don't expect it.
Mm-hmm.
The one with the
You're like, I'm just gonna watch this cute shoujo anime.
And they're like, oh fuck, why are there so many rats? What the fuck? And then the one with, I feel like with the way that Aikido is like drawn in acts, so when that scene happens, like when they're at the school, for example, that we've already seen so far, you're like, oh shit, but it's not like, it's not like what the fuck, it's like, oh shit. Does that make sense? Let me describe.
What the fuck? It's oh shit.
Let me describe this the only way that I can with my swearing, my palette of swears.
Like, where does this scene lie on the scale from what the fuck to oh shit? We're gonna put that on our survey too.
Now I have to leave this in because it was so funny.
Sorry, I'm hilarious.
This episode is just gonna be jokes.
Yeah.
There's not that much to say. There's not that much to say that's not spoilery. Like, Kyo here said. I think
I have a couple spoiler comments, but I don't really have too much.
I think we talked about
the rats were cute.
The rats were cute. In the other episode, well, I think we should point out the fights, because in the first episode we did this, we talked about the manga, we talked about the fights. So in the fight scenes, because everyone, if you listen to this long enough, you know that I fucking hate fight scenes. I hate it when they argue, because it's boring to me. But in these, there are a couple of things that they said that I thought were interesting. Like when they were arguing, so like Kyo says, he says, sorry, I have the quote from the manga, I'm not gonna scroll up. It's like, he says something about that's why that's funny coming from like a boy who's locked in his room all the time or something. And then Yuki says it's better than a certain idiot who trained the mountains and still useless or something like that. So I just think the scene is interesting because they pick at these things. Like Kyo says something that I feel like probably really gets to Yuki, but Kyo doesn't know that maybe he was like abused by Aikido, like we saw before. Like Aikido is alluded to locking Yuki in that room, or like having him in the special room or whatever, the stuff that we've seen before. And then of course, like Yuki picks on something that Kyo worked hard for, like all this training that he did in the mountains. And then they also have this scene where later, the second fight where they're at the lake, Kyo is like, talking about Ayame, and he's like, he's your brother, do something to Yuki. And then Yuki is like, oh, I hate it with other people who are dependent on other people. And then they argue about that when really like both of them are dependent on Shigure.
Yeah. So. And I think this anime made it even more obvious that Yuki's like talking kind of about himself when he says, I hate when people are dependent on others.
He doesn't even like look at Kyo, I think, when he says it. He's kind of like looking down in a way.
Yeah, and he even like before he says it, he says like, I would if I could, like when he's talking about Ayame, which makes him even more obvious that he feels helpless in that moment.
He seems like he's more frustrated with himself.
Yeah, but it's a sensitivity that they both have, so they both like start fighting about it.
That's all I have to say that's not spoilery, frankly.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll leave in all these jokes for content. Anyway, so next time we'll be talking about episode 16. It's called She said don't step on those, which is another weird quote.
Yeah.
I kind of like how they use quotes for all the titles though, but I do agree with what you said earlier, which is like sometimes they pick kind of weird ones, but
yeah. Like, I wouldn't say that is not a descriptive quote.
I always pick, like, I also tend to, sometimes their titles, sometimes I feel like I used to write more titles, and now I kind of pick a quote that I feel like summarizes sort of the theme of the theme of the chapters that we're talking about. And I don't
think I wouldn't say that summarizes the theme.
No, I don't think so.
I think you should start picking title quotes from our stupid jokes from now on.
I could. This one would be like,
call it Ayame's blasting off again.
Oh, except I don't title these. Maybe I should title the anime breaks from now on. Ayame's blasting off again with like a lot of A's.
Yes. And tink at the end.
Yeah. I'll just use like the emoji that's a little sparkles.
Yes.
All right, great. Anyway, great discussion. Let's
high quality discussion.
So much quality. Let's move on to spoilers.
Okay.
If you managed to suffer through this whole episode, Thank you all for listening. You can send us your asks. You can answer our informal surveys at Tumblr, Twitter, or you can send us emails, or you can send us notes on our website, which is staytogetherpodcast.com. I do seriously hope you're all enjoying the podcast. And I was really pleased when people were like, there was a ghost people scene, which was really great. I was like, yay.
Yeah. It was really charming. It made me grin in the middle of work.
Yeah. It's nice. With Kayla, we made an impact on at least one or two people. So nice. Okay. Thank you so much. We will see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Hey, yo, we're back to talk about spoilers.
What up?
I have a great spoiler to start with. This quote, that's from the chapter that we just read.
I know.
I was like, what? Like
I read it right before watching the episode. And I was like, I would not have recognized that if I hadn't just read that chapter.
I know. That was convenient for us.
Yeah. So I guess we're jumping ahead to some Uo backstory.
I guess. That's very interesting because that's after. Yeah, I don't know, man. So
yeah, I guess they're getting some backstory in before the dorama.
I guess a dorama. Yeah, maybe they'll still use the true form as the season finale of this season, but maybe they'll add in some other stuff first to like pad it because I don't know.
It's coming up pretty quickly. So.
It would have to be. Isn't this? There's probably only if they kept it like this, would only be a couple more episodes before that, and there's still like 10 episodes left.
Yeah, it's like chapter 31 is where that starts. Yeah. We're already in like chapter
26 or
26, so
yeah, it's chapter 26. This covered the end of chapter 26, and it's 31. So yeah, so it's like 5 away.
Yeah.
So that would be 2 or 3 episodes. Depending on how they split that arc. So yeah.
Yeah.
They're going to have to add a lot of content. Like 10 more episodes worth of content, I guess.
Yeah. I wonder if they might put some, like, Hanajima backstory into the little chapter where the Wiki Club comes to her house.
Maybe. That would be a good choice.
To get, like, both of their backstories in.
Is that the next one after this? Hold on, wait, I can look.
It's pretty close, but I don't think it's right away. I think we get Kisa first. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, it's the Kisa chapters, and then it's the chapter with Megumi.
Okay. Good. Well, yeah, maybe we will, because, like, the chapter with Kisa is probably going to be 1 episode. And then the chapters with, like, that chapter, the one where they visit her house, Hana's house, is going to probably be 1, I guess.
Yeah, there's not a lot that goes on in that chapter, so, like, if they wanted to pad it out with some of Hanajima's backstory, that would kind of make sense.
Probably a good choice. Yeah, anyway, I thought that was interesting. I definitely wouldn't have recognized that if we hadn't just read it, so that was lucky for us. So.
Fortuitous.
Yeah, it was fortuitous. That is one way to describe it. I was like, we're getting to a point where, like, they're getting pretty close. I was thinking, like, the anime's getting pretty close to, like, stuff we've already read before. Like, I wonder if there's ever going to be a point where this crosses over what we haven't read yet. So,
yeah.
Guess we'll see.
Yeah. I think, the pause between seasons should give us some
catch-up time.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah, let's hope. But
yeah.
Even then, like, I think
I don't think it matters too much.
No, it doesn't, because we can also just look it up. Also, the Kyo episodes it's gonna take up several episodes, probably. I bet it's gonna take up at least 2.
Yeah.
So, we will see.
I just noticed a slight change in the dialogue, where instead of Kyo saying that, like, Yuki's, like, currently, like, living off of Shigure's, like, generosity or something, he said Shigure used to piggyback you around.
Yes.
Which makes it seem more like a reference to, like, him, begging to be taken out of Akita's grasp.
Yes, I did notice that, and I thought it was an interesting choice. I guess that's specifically alluding to that. I was trying to think if there's something else that happens that could be alluding to, but I don't think so. Yeah, I don't know.
I just think the past tense rather than present tense is kind of an interesting choice there.
Did he say, like, I heard that he carried you around on his back or something? Hold on, wait. I probably wrote it down. It says, Kyo says, rely on others. I know Shigure used to piggyback you around, you moron. So, Did he say that? Did you watch the dub? Did he say something like that in the dub too?
Yeah, he said something pretty similar. I can't remember if it's the exact same phrase.
Okay. So he implies that it's like he knows that beyond this time. Yeah, I don't know. It was an interesting little tiny tweak. Sometimes they just change one little word and it makes a huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like this episode also, like, just like language, yes. Just like the one, there was another one recently, I can't remember which one it was, that we talked about, where, I don't know, like sometimes they just make a couple minor changes to the translation in the subtitles, and that makes things feel a little bit different or makes it a little clearer or whatever. So it's just another one of those things. I kept this in the spoiler section, but it's kind of not a spoiler, but we talked about in our episodes a couple of times that, like, whenever Yuki and Kyo are upset, they return back to this, like, state of being like, I just hate that guy, and, like, that's the only, it's a way that they kind of cope with stuff. I feel like this is the first time that that's happening. They were kind of getting along well, and then they were upset about different things that had happened after at Kyoko's grave visit. Like, Kyo is upset about Kyoko, and then Yuki is, of course, upset about the hat situation and closing the lid, like we talked about, and all this other stuff.
And it's funny because they're, like, completely separate things that they're upset about. Like, they have nothing to do with each other.
No.
But at the end, they start, like, fighting with each other again.
Yeah, and it's how they kind of, like, it's the thing that they can do. It's the way they know how to be and cope with their feelings. Like, they're angry about other things and confused about other things, but they turn that attention toward each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do they call it? Displacement.
Yeah. Projection. I forget.
Yeah. One of those psychology terms.
Projection is when it's on the therapist. I don't know. Listen. Yeah. Carl Jung.
Okay. The psychology terms that, like, actually mean specific things, but people use them like generally, so psychopath? You can't remember what they actually mean. Yes. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So they do the thing. They definitely, like, they direct their attention onto each other. And it seems to work for both of them.
Yeah.
And I also thought it was one thing where Tohru was like, it's also not really a spoiler, but I consider it spoilery because it's something that reminded me of another manga episode that we did where Tohru was saying that she's like, I'm happiest when they argue. And it reminded me of stuff that happened in the chapter that we talked about with Yuki and Ayame, where Mine says that Ayame is most afraid of being ignored or, like, not having any attention. So I feel like it's interesting that idea is also it's the same idea that is alluded to both times, but now that we've seen it happen, like, twice, it's kind of building toward, or, like, adding on to the theme.
Yeah.
Of acknowledging people, and there's different ways of talking to people, but at least they're, like, acknowledging each other and not just ignoring each other. So. Yeah,
and like, if you, like, acknowledge people fully, you're bound to argue sometimes. Yeah, kind of thing.
Like, not getting along with people is a part of growing up, probably, and, like, it's this being a person. It kind of ties into, like, even the stuff that Shigure said at the beginning with Kyo, that was like, you need to spend more time around people and get hurt by them and hurt them, and that's how you grow as a person. Sort of a tangent of that, I feel.
Yeah.
Those were all my spoilers. Because the last one I have just says, she said don't step on them with an open eye emoji.
Yeah. Mine is jumping to Uo's backstory, ?
Very good.
Yes. I handwrite my notes.
Oh, so you don't put emojis in your notes?
No, so I had no access to eye emojis. I guess I could have drawn them. But...
Good choice. These are the extras that you get in the spoiler when you listen to the spoiler section of the podcast. Did you have any other spoilers?
I think that's all I had.
Okay. Well, good. In that case, thank you all for listening. We'll see you next time for manga, or we'll see you for the next episode of the anime. Bye.
Bye. Do your bye that time.
Yay! If I was doing yours, it would have been like, bye-bye.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. Thanks. Bye. Yuki smirks and then chuckles. Not in a million years, he says, and then we hear the sound of Ayame getting blasted into the sun.
Well, it's blasting off again.
Oh, the 13 Rocket. I was like, what reference is that? I know it, but I know it in my heart.
You know it on a deep intrinsic level, even if you don't.
Well, I was like, is that a Magic School Bus reference for a second? Because I guess they were like, that would have been like, not another field trip or something.
Yeah. At my old school, we never blasted off into space.
At my old school, we never went inside someone's gut. Oh, okay. That was great.
90s.
Do you think it's Jason? It's Jason. I wonder if our listeners know who Jason is. I guess they do now. Didn't we talk about it in that one episode?
I think so. I think did we see his like most recent movie? It was like 2003 or something.
Yeah, something. It was like 2013 maybe or something. It was still a long time ago.
Yeah.
A relatively long time ago.
His name's not in the title, so I feel like he's less well known than like Freddy Krueger or something.
Or
like his name's not in the title either, but I feel like he's more iconic in his name.
Freddy Krueger has the knife hands too, right?
Yeah, and he's got a song.
What is the song?
The 1, 2, Freddy's Coming For You song.
What?
Are you kidding me?
I'm not. Why didn't you mention this when we talked about it before?
Did we talk about Freddy Krueger before?
I feel like we had to like, which one's Freddy and which one's Jason? Jason's from Freddy Krueger's from A Nightmare on Elm Street, and Jason is from. It's like the opening theme song to Nightmare on Elm Street or whatever.
No, it's like 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. Before battle lock the door.
The Gentleman. What's the song about the Gentleman? Do you remember?
Yeah. It's like a poem. Like.
But doesn't it have little girls knocking on windows, knocking on doors?
Yeah.
You need 6, 7, and they might take yours. I just don't remember how it starts. Anyway.
Yes. Yeah, I can't remember how it starts either. Also creepy though.
It's not as creepy.
It's just a mishmash of weird references in this last 20 seconds.
Oh, I googled Gentleman song and it just gave me the Sigh song.
Thanks, Google.
I just imagine like Giles plays that instead of the
Instead of the creepy music he plays.
Yeah. Oh, I can't remember what the name of that song is. It's a really famous classical song.
Like the
Dance Macabre. Yeah, Dance Macabre. Instead of Dance Macabre, he plays Gentleman by Psy.
Someone needs to make that edit.
Can't even shout, can't even cry. The gentlemen are coming by, looking in windows, knocking on doors. They need to take 7, and they might take yours. Can't call to mom, can't say a word. You're gonna die screaming, but you won't be heard. That's the song that the little girl sings, apparently.
Yep.
It's a really creepy photo of the gentleman. I'm gonna close this now.
It's very obviously inspired by the Freddy song. I never really thought about it, but
just when you sang it now, I put the because I didn't know the Freddy song. Hold on, wait, maybe I should just listen to it. We have time today. The monk episode's only 1 chapter, so it's only going to take half as long, right? I just googled Freddy Krueger. I wanted to Google Freddy Krueger song, but it says Freddy Krueger lyrics. Is this a different song? Yeah, it is. Oh, wait. It's like a rap song. Wait. Oh. I think this is technically also an edit. Hold on, wait. Oh, it is. It's rap. Hold on, wait. 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. They're all parodies of those like jump rope songs, though.
Mm-hmm.
This is 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. 3, 4, better lock your door. 5, 6, grab a crucifix. But he's not a vampire.
Yeah, I couldn't remember 5'6" when I was singing it earlier. I was like, pick up sticks.
How does the real one go? 1, 2, 4. I wonder. Oh, Buckle My Shoe. Song by Barney? No. It's a nursery rhyme. Okay. 1, 2, buckle my shoe. 3, 4, knock the door. 5, 6, pick up sticks. 7, 8, lay them straight. 9, 10, a big fat hen. 11, 12, dig and delve. 13, 14, maids accounting. Maids according. 15, 16, maids in the
Become a Christmas song.
Yeah, I know. I was like, why are there maids? 17, 18, maids in waiting. 19, 20, my plate's empty. That doesn't rhyme with 20. Okay, whatever. This is from the Oxford Dictionary of Nursery Rhymes. Who knew there was such a thing?
I didn't.
Well,
it's like when you find like a Wikipedia page, it's like list of very specific things.
Yeah. List of Freddy Krueger song lyrics.
Yeah. I found one. It was like list of popes who had extramarital affairs or something. It was like a really specific.
There's enough that they can make a list, though.
Yeah.
Apparently, there's.
I was like reading about the what do you call them? Like Lucrezia and Cesare.
What?
The Borgias.
Oh, there you go.
Like, why am I remembering first names, not last names?
I do remember those names. It sounds familiar.
I was reading about the Borgias, and it had a list of it was like list of sexually active popes or something.
Very specific.
Yeah, and I was like, huh.
It's strange. There's also apparently an Agatha Christie novel called 1, 2, Buckle My Shoe.
That's not surprising. Yeah. She liked her nursery rhymes.
Yeah. Even more. Oh, that episode of The Gentleman is good.
It's very good.
Where was I in my episode? Okay. Here we go. Oh, he gets blasted. We're blasting off again. That's what it was. All right.
3 hours later.
Yeah, 3 hours later. That's what you meant to say, right?
Yes. I was just laughing too much to do the tone.
Sorry. Sorry, not sorry. This is all comedy gold. It's going to get cut into the end of this episode, probably.
Like, I hope people know you put our stupid jokes at the end.
Only the people who listen to spoilers get to hear them. I guess I could cut them into a separate. I should cut all of them later into like a separate compilation.
Yeah.
That would be smart.
Now it takes listen.
Or you listen, if you aren't listening to spoilers, you go back, or let me know if you want to hear all the jokes, because I could just leave them in, but usually I cut them out for because it takes up a long time, like this one.
And it's better for pacing.
It is better for pacing. But I can just leave them in. That's also fine too. I feel like I've heard some people comment, but
I think you make a good balance of jokes that are left in and
short
jokes
ones
that are cut for timely issues.
I cut tangents. I don't cut jokes. I'll put it that way. This was a full tangent. We referenced 5 other things. That
was like a 10-minute tangent.
It's also based on the amount of things that are like referenced outside of this too. Sometimes I'm like, people don't want to hear us talk about video games, but it is funny if you like the video game, so I'll just leave it in or whatever.
Yeah. We went through like 5 canons in those last couple of minutes there. So.
Yeah, probably. That was
like Pokemon and Jason and Freddy Krueger and Buffy.
Nursery rhymes.
Yeah.
The canon of nursery rhymes.
I briefly talked about the Borgias.
I technically talked about, I just said, what's her face? There's an Agatha Christie novel.
Yeah.
Oh, we talked about classical music.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Venn diagram between all of those things in Fruits
yeah,
Basket.
how many people like all those things in Fruits Basket? Well, there's at least 2, so probably more. All those people, but then again, all those like people who don't know who Freddy Krueger and Jason are probably don't know what Buffy is.
Yeah.
Or like they maybe didn't watch it. I don't know.
Yeah. It was a pretty 90s tangent.
It was. In Pokemon.
Yeah.
I wonder, do they make the Team Rocket joke in the current anime? I haven't watched it in so long.
I think so. I don't know about the most current one, but I watched some like a few years ago. I watched some current stuff, and they were still blasting off.
Okay,
so.
well, good. That's the only thing that matters.
Mm-hmm.
Does James still cross-dress? This is also important.
That I can't tell you.
One of my favorite
I only watched one episode.
Every time he's like, "Cool," in that one episode.
Yeah.
It makes me laugh every time.
My ringtone for a little while was that music that plays when they start doing their little motto.
The do-do-do-do-do.
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah.
Prepare for trouble and make it double. Is that a children's nursery rhyme? It should be.
It should be. I'm gonna teach it to my children.
Let's all sing a nursery rhyme. Prepare for trouble and make it double. It's kind of like double toilet trouble or whatever.
Yeah.
Boil and bubble. Double. Is that a Macbeth reference?
Technically.
I think so. Anyway, listen. Ayame doesn't get it at all, Hatori says. Not at all. But the same goes for you too, Hasan, Shigure thinks. You still have your whole life ahead of you. And then we cut to school, which was a little bit weird.
Whole life ahead of you, back in high school.
Back in high school.
Get your GED. Get your GED, Hatori.
I've been practicing medicine for all this time without your GED, Hatori. He's like, he has a private clinic so he can like do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
And they come in and he's like, how are you feeling? He just opens a drawer full of like syringes and he's like, which one is which? Like,
it's like, give me a second. He pulls up like WebMD.
You said your head hurts and you have a fever? Oh my god, you have cancer.
Yeah, definitely cancer.
Oh, okay. We're so close to finishing the episode.
I think we just need this comedic episode after all of the, the drama of the last ones.
Hatori, like, this scene brought it into a place of drama, and we're turning into a place of comedy still. He's like, I'm so sad about my past, like, with Kana, and we're like, haha, Pokemon jokes. Yuki, Kyo, Tohru, and Hana is homeroom teacher.
Like, he listed them all.
Yeah. Well, usually when they're together, I refer to them as the gang. But then in this case, I referred to the gang as all the people at the vacation house. So it made sense to me at the time.
Well, it could be Hatori's homeroom teacher, too, if he goes back to get his...
That might be an interesting experience.
I'm going to write that AU.
Oh, I have so many things to say there, spoiler. It's an AU, but then it turns into one of those weird like high school kid who has a crush on the teacher AU.
Yeah.
We got some really good, strong fic ideas from this episode. One is this AU where Hatori goes back and Mayako's his teacher. What was the other one?
I can't remember.
Oh, wait.
Was it about Yuki at pub trivia?
Oh, yeah, right. That would be easy to write. I feel like that's you, not AU.
Yeah.
Kakeru drags him to...
Yes.
Actually, do they have pub
Canon.
trivia in Japan? I don't even know. Kakeru drags him to pub trivia, and he's like, you gotta do it, Yu. And then it's like the campus defense force.
Yeah. They would be the worst pub trivia team.
Kimi's like, Kimi knows the answer. And I was like, nobody knows the answer. And then Yuki's writing all the answers.
Yeah.
Oh, and then it's like, it turns out that it's all Power Rangers trivia. And
Yeah.
Kakeru thinks he knows
Like,
all
my
the
time
answers.
has come.
Yeah. But then Yuki secretly knew all the answers. Listen, fanfiction gold. Maiko seems like a cool teacher.
Mm-hmm.
She'd be a good teacher in our AU where Hatori goes back to get his GED.
Yes.
The Night School Doctor. That's the working
Yes.
title. Okay.
It sounds like a terrible show that airs like Friday night at 4:00.
Yes! That's what makes it great. It's like a weird like 50 Shades of Grey shit situation. The night school doctor. Or like, yeah, I don't know. I was trying to remember something.
Just trying to make some reference, like, what does he call it, like the Red Room or something? I was like, Maya's the one with the, the chamber this time.
Yes. I wish I could make more 50 Shades of Grey jokes, except I don't, because that would have required me to have read it, which is fine.
Yeah, same.
I'm not wasting my brain cells on that.
Yeah, I'm fine with my osmosis understanding of 50 Shades of Grey.
And she's like, yeah. She has to teach him lessons. Is that acceptable?
Yes.
She's like, I won't let you graduate unless you do some private study sessions with me. This fanfic writes itself.
Just to teach him lessons with an elbow nudge on every single word of that sentence.
She winks. It's like, Doctor.
No, it's good to the blind bad.
She's like, she calls him Hatori Sensei. She's like, oh, Hatori Sensei, you're familiar with anatomy, right? And he's like, bitch, I didn't even go to college. When I started this podcast, I had a dream that I would also tag all of the like dumb shit that we say so that people can find it later. So this would just be like some kind of like great fanfic ideas hashtag.
Yeah.
Oh, so funny. Do you want to start this discussion about specifically about this episode of Fruits Basket and not about anything else?
Oh, goodness.
We started this podcast to have fun, right? We can do what we want.
Yes. What is important is we're having fun and learning.
I learned about 50 Shades of Grey.
Learned about old horror movies.
About what?
Old horror movies.
Yeah. I mean, they're not even that old.
Not that old.
They're just
like
kind
80s.
of old. That would make them like 30 years old at this point, though,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, there's so many horror movies, though. I feel like they age faster than other genres.
Well, I think also like good horror movies play on things that are in the collective unconscious of the time. So like that's also why they age in a certain way. Like think about The Ring. Like people don't even fucking watch videos anymore.
Yeah.
I
feel like people only know about like 5 horror movies. Like there's like an iconic one like every decade, and that's all people remember.
Probably. What do you think the 5 iconic horror movies are?
Well, The Exorcist.
Yeah,
like the Freddy Krueger stuff. Even Jason's not that iconic.
I don't think so. Well, they're all. I
Plus
kind of
the
lump.
time, but I feel like he's aged more than the other ones.
I feel like I lump them together in my head, where it's like Freddy, Jason, and the other one.
What's the one they just had a reboot of, with the music.
When you said the music, I just thought of the Ghostbusters theme song because I was trying to think of like the 80s.
The great music, great movie though. What the heck am I thinking of?
We talked about it before. We talked about it in the last episode. Oh no, wait, I have the notes open. Let me just see. This is important. These are the relevant things.
What's her face? Who was in Freaky Friday?
Jamie Lee Curtis?
Yes,
oh,
her.
The Scream? You mean Scream?
No,
she wasn't in Scream. That was
Scream is a parody of this one.
Oh, shit.
Good lord. Halloween.
Wait, isn't that Jason?
No, Jason is Friday the 13th.
Oh, right.
These all have terrible titles, have nothing to do with what they're about.
No. Well, I mean, you wouldn't just call it
Halloween took place on Halloween, but
it does, and then Friday the 13th takes place on Friday the 13th, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it's like they're just like it's like, oh, what's a creepy date? Ooh, we'll call it that, and then have it take place on that day.
Yeah.
But yeah, Halloween with Michael Myers.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's Scream, which is the parody of all of them, which is great.
Yeah.
For different reasons. Yeah, what's her face? I always remember. What's her name? The girl that played Monica in Friends is in the first Scream. Anyway, listen. Fruits Basket. I told you to talk about Fruits Basket, and you failed me. Although, Jason is an important character.
By the way, you Googled gentleman song and got Psy. I Googled Halloween and got the holiday. So.
Halloween is a holiday in North America where people wear costumes and beg for candy.
Yeah.
It's also spooky.
Okay.
All right. So sorry if this is repetitive, but just for the people who didn't.
Informal poll. Do you listen to both or one or the other?
I would be curious to know, actually. Send your notes. I've been contemplating doing a survey, but then I feel like it's too much work. At least too much work for other people, not for me. Just for me to know, for us to know who listens to our shit. That would be interesting. But not like one of those like podcast surveys where it's like, tell us the shit that you like, because that doesn't matter. We don't have enough of an audience to do advertising. It's just just in case anybody was curious. But maybe someday I can always aspire.
Someday we can sell you mattresses and toothbrushes.
The number of times whenever I talk to my mom about this podcast, she's always like, so just tell me when I need to buy a mattress. It's pretty great.
Or stamps. You guys need to buy stamps.
Yeah, if you need to mail shit. Anyway, no, none of that applies to us. So I would do a survey for just to understand how people listen to the podcast and like what. Yeah.
Survey for science.
It would be for reasons. But anyway, that's a side note. I'll be cutting that and putting that at the end too. I haven't done a. What was the scene where I did Tohru swearing? That makes me laugh every time. It was like, it was from the hot spring one where she's like, oh, I love the soma, I love living with the somas or whatever. It was like, fuck mom, I fucking love living with the fucking somas, they're so fucking great.
I used to love when people made AMVs to the song Girlfriend by Avril Lavigne. It was like really innocent shoujo characters like Tohru saying like, I'm the motherfucking princess.
Of course. Avril Lavigne, what another weird like mid-2000s reference.
Yeah, that's like later though, the Girlfriend stuff, because she had her like dark emo stuff.
Yeah.
Back when like we were in
that song.
Back when we were in like middle school and high school, and then she went kind of full on bubblegum pop, but with swearing.
Yes. Pop punk, one might say, or mostly pop. It's like from if there's a scale of oh shit to what the fuck, there's a scale of pop to punk, and it's like mostly on the pop.
Yeah.
Whereas like like Fall Out Boy is mostly on the punk. I don't know. Yeah. Somewhere like, straight down the middle.
Pop with a pinch of punk.
Yeah.
In the recipe book of pop music.
Great metaphor. Are you a poet or something?
Yes. I'm a novelist.
I'm glad you got my joke. I'm glad you played along. This episode is just going to be jokes.
Yeah.
And then who knows how long the pause will be between the next season. We'll find out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't really understand anime seasons, so.
Me neither.
And people are like, what do you think of the new shows this season? And I'm like, I don't understand.
You're like, so a new season started?
Yeah.
Well, people are like,
I mostly watch anime after it's already done, so.
Yeah. I was watching, I was looking up cores for anime, and it was like, sometimes a core is this long, and sometimes it's this long, and sometimes it's like 12 episodes, sometimes it's 25, sometimes it's 50. Sometimes there's a break, and sometimes there isn't. So it's like, are there rules? Who knows?
Yeah.
It seems like there's some standardization, but like, whatever, it's fine. So we'll see.
Welcome to anime where everything's made up and points don't matter.
Yeah, basically. How many references can you fit in one episode of this podcast?
Challenge accepted.
All right. What do you think the crossover is of... What do you think the crossover is of Whose Line and Furuba fans is? Just maybe like 2.
I say whatever the answer is, it's not as big as it should be.
Yeah, that's probably true. So more references? No.
Yeah.
Can we talk about spoilers?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, I have another one.
Another one. Okay, great.